Cancer I Zodiac January 2026 January Prediction. Health. This month you would have to look quite close and hard at the stars to find anything encouraging about your health. Those predisposed to chronic disorders like rheumatism and irregularities like flatulence and excessive wind in the digestive tract will face problems larger than usual. Quite obviously you would have to pay far greater heed to the treatment of these ailments. Further, there are grounds to apprehend the fact that your bounds may give you trouble. Here again greater heed would have to be paid to the treatment and precautionary measures taken to avert the problems. Take care, since the circumstances are hardly favorable for you. Finance. Nothing particularly favorable in the augury from the stars this month, insofar as your financial prospects are concerned. Writers, poets, and others of their caliber would do well to make provisions for a lean period, because this would stand them in good stead this coming month. Most important, this month you would surely lack whatever normal self-confidence you possess, and also miss the ability to take the initiative. This would make for stagnation and no growth. The climate would also not be at all congenial for the investment and launching of new ventures, which should be shelved for a more opportune moment. Profession. An excellent period is in the offing for the advancement of your career possibilities. Those inclined towards artistic endeavors and practitioners of the fine arts would have a satisfying period of creative pursuits. In fact, some of you may well go on to make a mark for yourselves with your contributions. In any case, whatever your line of work, you would approach your objectives with bold confidence that would quickly see you realizing your objectives. In fact, this boldness of a negative implication as well in that there is an element of risk is characteristic involved. You must, therefore, avoid pointless risk. Travel would also prove quite beneficial. Education. Nothing particularly beneficial about the augury from the stars this month, insofar as your educational prospects are concerned. Most of you would lack the necessary drive and motivation which is necessary for reaching the top. Therefore, during this period you would have to tap your inner resources to derive the required inspiration. Students of both arts and the sciences would have to put in a good deal of extra effort to maintain your ranking. This would also apply to people sitting for any competitive examination. They would do well to go in for extra coaching, because this could be the decisive factor. Travel. Not much percentage in travel for you this month since the stars are not very helpful about this aspect of the forecast for the coming month. There is a likelihood of an injury or some other physical trouble during the course of your journeys. Care should be exercised and risk minimized. Your job or business would require that you travel a fair amount, though this effort could go largely unrewarded, since the turn of events would just not be favorable. You would travel alone and almost entirely by rail or by road. The most favorable direction would be east, though during the coming period this may not all that helpful. Family. The affairs of your family would be fraught with difficulties and inopportune influences practically throughout the month, since the stars facing you are far from favorable. You must firmly curb any tendency to pointless suspicions, for this could well take your relations with your spouse to the stars, as they say. Therefore, discipline yourself on this score, and inculcate a more tolerant, generous attitude of mind. Some of you would also have serious differences with your brothers. Here again, patience and refusal to be provoked into any kind of confrontation would go a long way in preventing such an occurrence. Children would not help either, and their activities would have to carefully supervised. Children. Nothing particularly favorable about the coming month insofar as the prospects for your children are concerned, since the augury from the stars is not too favorable on this score. This would not be a month of high performance. The real students would need a great deal of extra help and encouragement to pull on. In fact, even those who are normally bright would find their performance slipping. The behavior of most of them would also be quite unruly, with some of them getting into fights with their brother. Parents should deal with this quite firmly.